name is Lisa, and he's currently working on the most over-bloated project called the Lisa. Only other time, and after that, you don't hear anything about Lisa. Next thing you hear Lisa is, and this is from the trailer, you can see, he's trying to wake his daughter up on the sofa, Lisa, which we're guessing that's the same Lisa. They didn't have no child named Lisa like a dick. Who knows, he might have. But he's trying to wake this girl up. She doesn't have any lines else than, I want to sleep. Because she's home from college or something, and she's staying there, and that's it. That's the end of the Lisa story. And this is about an hour and a half apart from each other.
It's like, what's really bad about the Lisa storyline, and I actually, after I exited the movie theater, this random social worker starts talking to me. She brings up Lisa because it makes no fucking sense. And the bad thing is, like, you know the breakup scene is going to happen. I mean, it's sort of hinted at a few scenes earlier, so you know it's going to happen. But it still feels like it comes out of fucking left field. Because all the Lisa storyline is doing is, like, going through the motions and, like, oh, you need the scene where he's, sees that he thinks the girlfriend's cheating on him. Then you have to have the breakup scene. Then you have to have the scene where it shows that he gets back together with the daughter, but they're going through the motions. The plot doesn't fucking give a shit.
Yeah, it's, it shows that he has other children at that point too. So where was the part of the story where he shows him having children, additional children, all that, when he gets in a relationship and all that? All that stuff's just skipped over. He believes that one of his friend he goes to India with, I can't remember all the names, I'm sorry, but one of the founding members, that he brought in just to build the Apples, the Apple 1 and Apple 2s, he saw her in a window partying, dancing around with him, in a house party at his house, their house actually, and he just assumes that she's cheating. No proof of this or any other. Maybe there was something else and we don't know because they didn't talk about it in the goddamn movie.
Because the plot don't give a fuck.
And it just ends up, when Apple is going public, and they're asking what to do with the first 8 members. How much should they get? What should they earn? It comes down to that particular guy, his roommate, his closest friend for years, in college and all that. He says that he'll get nothing. He'll get no stock options. He'll get no bonuses. He'll get no pay. Start to push him out the door. While this meeting is happening, he was supposed to be having a personal meeting with him, and a diner for lunch, which he never makes. And I'm sure that was an easy way of cutting out the fact that obviously all of the original members, whenever Steve walks in the office, he doesn't talk or acknowledge any of them anymore. He just thinks he's too big. And this goes back to the fact that Steve Jobs is a dick. He thinks he's the most important thing on the planet. And in the end, what they don't talk about is that all the original members got literally nothing. And they didn't put in the fact that Steve Wozniak was very vocal about this. Is what they should have said is that after that meeting, Wozniak says that he gave about half of his money to them, his share, and a lot of his Apple shares. He divvied up amongst them. He gave them more than fair, because Apple would never have even filled their first order if it wasn't for these people. Because it would take Wozniak at least a day to make one, and they had to make 80? 30 or 80? I mean, a good amount back then of motherboards.
A lot.
Yeah, and
500?
I don't know. It was a lot. More than a guy in a garage and another man who couldn't fix a pre-built game could ever produce. And they were producing these, and then they were producing a secondary computer, and they got more people. Probably the only person he took care of was the the one guy who built the power supply, the silent power supply, which we still use today as this technology. And he stuck with Apple for a long time. I believe he got a good amount of shares, but he could have just gone anywhere, and they had to take care of him. So shit like that, that should have been in the movie was not. They just kind of say, "Oh, I'm going to be a dick to this one guy," and that's it. That's the end of that. They don't talk about why the people left. They made some generic scene with Wozniak when he comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Steve's obsessing over financial stuff, telling him that he's just leaving. That didn't quite happen that way. He didn't come into his office in the middle of the night. It's just a bunch of shit.
Yeah, it's Jobs is all about motions, about cliches, about trying to put a movie together just by cliches and scenes that are called for, instead of actually caring about either giving like Steve Jobs' actual history or telling a good story. It's like doesn't work out.
And a big chunk of his life that they just cut out is, and this is around the time where we see the Lisa for the 10 seconds. Lisa the person. Is the time when after he was removed from Apple, when he was voted out and would have no more involvement, and right before they're asking him to come back as an advisor.
They show an ad like
they
maybe
show an
10
ad.
seconds.
They show a time like a small scene of him in front of the next computer system, which goes to they totally skip over the fact that he helped create one of the first digital animation companies, which still makes large animation movies today. They skip over.
Do you mean Pixar?
I'm not sure which one. Either Pixar or DreamWorks, one of the two. I don't know. He was heavily involved with the technology involved with it. He built many computer companies with super computer powers for a small desktop unit that were beyond their time. Next Computer, which helped us pretty much created the first web browser, the first hardware, and the first really usable Linux machine for anybody who could build a good system.
So, in other words, we should thank Next for being able to go on the web and use sites like Tumblr, Twitter.
Yeah, just anything. If that computer system hadn't been bought by the larger company, bought out, and then we wouldn't be as probably involved with the internet as we are today. It would have just kind of been a thing that was kind of popular, because the internet was not that popular at that point. It was a thing, not a lot of people had it. It's not like now where everybody has the internet in their pocket. This was a very important company that was bought and just dismembered because it was a competitor and people wanted the technology, and the software, but that was totally skipped over. That was a big portion of his life, what he did in between that made him into a better person. He left Apple a real fucked up, not controllable person. And then he turns into Steve Jobs that everybody kind of saw then. He was still a complete dick and asshole, hard to work with, very eccentric, but he learned how business works. He learned how money works. He got a family that just all of a sudden appeared on the screen.
Yeah, it was like, hey, look at...
Yeah. No, instead we see him digging in the ground, pulling carrots out of the ground.
Good. Yeah,
that's it.
That
was exactly
really
where it
fucking
started.
weird how that was edited. It's like, is this going to have some... No, it just fucking random.
Then they show him walking down the street with the current CEO of Apple, who's grasping at straws because the company is seriously going down, trying to get ideas from him on what to do, because everybody knows that he was the only person who was going to steer that company back. And they got him to convince him, well, they, it took a while. They walk him through Apple, whatever. He walks himself through Apple, let me be more exact. He doesn't want to be walked by the people that fired him.
Yeah, fucked him over.
To show him the campus, of the former giant Apple complex, So, and he just kind of wanders around. I think he might have been barefoot too. I think he might take his shoes off. That's when he ran into the former 14-year-old who's still working there. He was amazed to see somebody still there. Everybody else was far gone. And then all of a sudden he's working there again part time. He's got a job advising.